Hello, guys. If you would do me a favor, and if you're watching, please comment your name in the chat box or say something in the chat box so that I know you're watching, because I want to make sure that everybody is seeing this, or everybody that can see this is seeing this. So there is a few things that I want to go over before I get into like questions and quiz review and stuff. The first is there is a delay. So if you type a question for me in the chat box, it's going to take me a few seconds before I see it. So if I don't answer it right away, don't freak out. I will get to you. The next thing is for your quiz, it is already up. And so you can feel free to take it as soon as we're done with this live review, or if after the review you think you want to study for a little bit longer, that's absolutely fine, but it is due today. It's the only thing for the whole week that you actually have to have done by tonight. You do have to have the quiz done by tonight, so make sure that you get it done today. I'm looking at my notes here. Oh, stay on top of your work. Everybody has been doing a wonderful job of staying on top of their work throughout the week, which is really good. There was only a couple of people that I had to text on Friday, and they were only missing like one or two things that they hadn't turned in. So across the board, we're doing really well, and I'm pleased. So please keep doing that, because that's the best way to make sure that nothing starts piling up on you. I know that this online stuff sucks. I know that. It sucks for me too. I really, truly hate it. But that being said, that's the situation we're in. And to be honest, when you go to college, so many classes are self-directed. So many classes are self-directed. Like even if it's a class that you actually go to, and some of you, I'm sure, already know this from college classes that you've taken. If you even some classes that you go, like you're not really learning anything. So you have to do a lot of the teaching on your own, and then a lot of it is like online assignments, discussion boards and online tests and quizzes. So this is a good way to practice all of that and make sure that you have the ability to self-motivate and get all your stuff done. Because like I said, that's going to be super important when you go to college. So don't let don't get behind on anything. At least try not to. Feel free to work ahead. All of your assignments for the entire week are already on Canvas there for you to work on. Everything is already published for the entire week. And I'm going to do a little explanation of each assignment in just a second, because sometimes I type a description. Some things are pretty self-explanatory, but some stuff is a lot easier when you actually are like hearing me explain it. So I'll go through that in a second. And the last thing I want to say is remember that today at 5, really Guilford County is already shelter in place, but today at 5, the state is shelter in place, which means that any non-essential travel is a Class 2 misdemeanor. So stay in your house. And unless you're going to the grocery store or the pharmacy or something like that, you are literally not allowed to be out of your home. So stay in your home. And hello guys, I'm so glad that everybody's commenting to tell me that you're here. I appreciate that. But in addition to that, I've said last week, for those of you who are if you're trying to do your work, like if you don't have a computer and you're trying to do your work on your phone, please don't do that. This is realistically, if the state has said that this is going to go on through the rest until May 15th, trying to do all this work on your phone is going to be next to impossible. Please get access to a computer. We have them at school. Right now, the public are not allowed at school, which is why I sent out that message last week. However, Miss Keels is there. So every day, I think she's there from 10 to 2. So if for some reason you weren't able to get a computer last week and you really need one now, please call her. When you call the school, you'll get Miss Marshall, who's working from home, and then she'll probably have Miss Keels call you back. And she might be able to swing by your house and bring you a computer, or she can probably meet you outside. But anyway, please make sure that you're doing your work on a computer, because this is basically what the rest of the year is going to be like. Okay, so work for the week explanation before I get into quiz review stuff. This afternoon, you have two, speeches sort of to read. One is from Malcolm X and one is from Martin Luther King Jr. It's his letter from a Birmingham jail, which a lot of you have probably read before. It's super famous, but you'll read those two, and then there's an extra sheet that you will, I know, late to class again, right? Sophia can't even be on time to online. That's so disappointing. But make sure that you, if you're using the Google Docs that I'm uploading, make sure that, I think I've set it to only view this time. Sorry, Seth. Make sure that I think I've only put it to view, but make sure that you are copying the Google Doc and putting it in your own Google Doc and then filling that out. Do not type in the one that I've uploaded. Do not type there. But for the ones that are only questions, if there are any assignments that are only questions this week, no, there's not. So never mind. Everything has some type of chart or something on it. So never mind about that. So you'll just be comparing those two writings from the two of them. Tomorrow we're going to get into Kennedy and his assassination and stuff. So there's like you'll have to do some investigation, some online research into all of the like conspiracy theories into Kennedy's death. So I have a graphic organizer for that for you to fill out your own research. And then I've also put in there some links as to like some good things that you can click on and read through. And the BuzzFeed Unsolved video that they did, it's like 30 minutes about the Kennedy assassination. There's some good info in there. You can use any of that in your homework. But also, I put the link to the Zapruder film, which is the recording of Kennedy's assassination, is the videotape. So, trigger warning, if you watch that, you're going to see him get shot in the head. Be aware. Then I also have a discussion thread. You do have to comment on the discussion thread and just tell me, who do you think killed Kennedy and why do you think that? Then you need to comment on someone else's theory that's different from yours and say a piece of evidence that also supports their theory, or say a piece of evidence that is against their theory. Say like, well, I don't think that's right because of this. I don't believe that because of this. Or, oh, that's definitely possible because of the whatever evidence. Wednesday is some photographs of the Vietnam War, and then you have a worksheet that you have to fill out. I've uploaded the photographs as a PDF, and they're all lettered, so like A through H, I believe. And then on your worksheet, that's a different one. There's a Google Doc for that if you don't have Word. And then on Thursday, there's a video you're going to watch. It's about an hour long, and so there's a worksheet with a part where you have to take notes and then some guiding questions that go with that. And then on Friday, it's songs. So you'll have to annotate some song lyrics, but I put the links to the like YouTube of the song so you can like listen to the song while you annotate the lyrics. And then I think at the end you have to like do your own little song thing. So if you have questions, get over it. I don't care if you don't like any of the work. This is what we have. So if you have any questions about any of the work throughout the week, I haven't given so much work. You're actually getting less work than you normally get because you're just getting notes and one activity every day. And that's how much normally we did in class. Sometimes we would do more than one assignment a day. Plus, sometimes I'll give you homework. I'm technically not giving you homework because everything is homework. So you're actually getting less work than you got when we were in school. So if anything, you should be grateful. Which assignment do we have to comment on someone else's? The JFK one. There are two things there, and it's tomorrow. It's listed for tomorrow. It's listed for Tuesday. And it says like JFK conspiracy or assassination investigation. That's where you do your own research. And then the next one says JFK assassination theory or something. And the theory one is the discussion thread. And that's where you'll post your own. And then you'll have to post, and then you'll have to comment on someone else's. So does anybody have any other questions about that? Of course, like I said, as you start working on it through the week, you see some stuff that you don't understand or need a refresher on, let me know. And I know so many of you for so long have said that the notes online are terrible and not enjoyable. And now all we have are notes online. So I'm really sorry about that. But as usual, I know that one of the difficult things is like in class, you can ask me questions, and online you can't ask me questions, which is why I want to do these like live reviews. So if if you're listening to the notes and there's something you're not clear on, like make a note of it and I'll do a live review like this before each quiz, and then you can ask me any questions, or you could just text me right then and I'll do my best to email or text you back. We are being very strongly encouraged to stick to our school hours. So if you text me after like 4 or 5, I probably won't text back really quickly. If at all, I might text you back the next day. Do a Zoom class. I want to do a Zoom class, but I don't know if we're allowed to do Zoom. There has been some like, different responses I'm getting about whether or not we can do Zoom. I was told by the curriculum facilitator for social studies that Guilford County is not allowed to do Zoom because of like, I don't know, something about y'all's faces being recorded on the internet. We're not allowed to do that or something. But then someone told me that they knew of some other's teacher that did Zoom and their department said it was okay. So I've got to do some more investigating before we can do a Zoom class. Because I'm sure you all miss, at least if you don't miss everyone, I'm sure you miss a few people and wouldn't mind seeing their faces. I definitely miss you guys. I'm bored. I'm very bored at home. So, all right, now we can shift to quiz review. I had a couple of people tell me last time that isn't it only like during the time? Yeah, if I do a review or anything like that, if like whether it's Zoom or if I do YouTube Live, it will only be during this class time. So, so that's why I had this today at noon, because our class is from 11:45 to 1:15. So I won't do anything outside of those times. That way, like if you're in English and Dr. Smith wants to have one, or if you're in Earth and Environmental and Ms. Color needs to have a conference with you, then they know they can keep it in their like class times without having to worry about, oh my God, Layla, please do not be, first of all, why are you driving? Why are you out in public? That's a class 2 misdemeanor. But second of all, please don't drive and watch the YouTube Live at the same time. That's not what this is meant for. So, and by the way, okay, that's a valid reason. But also, this will stay up. So if I say something that you don't remember, you can always go back and like fast forward to wherever it is I'm talking about, whatever you want. So for the record, I guess at 12 minutes and 20 seconds, we start the actual review and I'm done answering, alternate questions. Big blue button. Oh, I have a question about that. I meant to ask Smith this, but I didn't. Do you get to see each other when you do a conference on Canvas, or can you only see me? If I do the big blue button thing. Can you see each other or just the teacher? Yes. You can see each other. No one is seen. Now I'm getting conflicting information. I don't know what that is. I think we all can have face cam if we put our cameras on. Okay, so you can, but you don't have to. My dog is here, Sophia. Doesn't he look like a rat? Like a homeless animal? All right, you can get down now. Nevertheless, Trey says you can't see each other. I don't know. I'll ask Dr. Smith. I'll do some more investigating because I know she used that for AP. I think you can use it. I think you can see each other, but you have to turn your camera on. So like I said, I'll do more investigation there because I know this being more of a conversation would be easier. Lila, Trey doesn't know. Well, we'll see. Okay, so quiz stuff. Several people, I started to say this a minute ago, several people told me last time that the quiz was so short, like not length short, but the time was short and you felt very pressured for time. I gave you the same amount of time I give you in class for the record. I might not tell you I only give you 10 minutes in class, but I only give you 10 minutes in class. Normally when I start to say like, does anybody need more time or 1 more minute? That's around the 8 or 9 minute mark. So I give you 5 minutes to study and 10 minutes to quiz. We're normally done with the whole quiz by noon. So I might not have told you. I think maybe for some of you it was psychological. Seeing the timer click down might have gotten to you. But in reality, yes. And then I just take the paper from you. Exactly. And yes, I know, because some of you, I expected all of you to be fast typers, right? You're Gen Z. You should know all about computers, be able to type quickly. But I guess your fast typing is with your thumbs and not the rest of your hands. So I did give you 3 extra minutes this time, folks. Now you have 13 minutes. So go in with that in mind. Know that you need to read the question and write the answer down and move on. Don't like mull over it and be like, oh, but is it this? Is it that? Is it that? Also, even if it's not a lot of time, you normally have a few blank on your quiz anyway, if you can't think of one, and that's totally fine. That is totally fine. Also, on your last quiz, I couldn't mark it as extra credit, but there were a few that were extra credit anyway. And I did that I didn't tell you what they were because I wanted you to try to answer them, but I did that to make sure that if it was a difficult time taking this first quiz online, then you would have a little bit of a boost. But now that I know I needed to give you a little bit more time, I didn't give you any extra credit this time. So all of the questions are real questions, for the record. I think what I should do is I'm just going to start sort of chronologically through the notes, and I'm going to mention a few things that are important and things that you should know either for the quiz or for the test. So if you have questions as I'm going through them, type them in the box. But reminder, it is a delay, so I can't see it immediately. Like, I just am now seeing Jasmine's question, when you're going to put grades in PowerSchool. I don't know when we're allowed yet. I think it'll be this week. If it's not this week, then I don't know. I'm having to write them all down, which is super annoying. It makes me feel like, I'm teaching in the Stone Age, having to keep track of your grades on pen and paper. But rest assured, I am keeping track of all of your grades. And as soon as we have time, I do have a project that you normally would be doing during this unit, but it involves, like a poster and some presentation, which you cannot do because we're online. So I think I've figured out a way to make it work for online anyway. So probably I will post your project sometime this week, and I'll post it at the top of the module. I'll make sure that it appears before Monday, but it won't be due this week. If we do it, it won't be due until later on. I'll definitely make sure that you still have plenty of time to do that. And keep in mind, movie reviews still in play. For vocab, I don't see how I can take up handwritten vocab and having you type your vocab. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with vocab yet. I'm thinking that I might have you handwrite it and maybe like take a picture and upload it, because I know Amber's been having her classes do that with reading projects still on. We just might not do the poster part. We just might instead just do the book report, the typed piece. I know a whole bunch of people from other schools who haven't done their work because they thought it didn't count. Big yikes. That is super unfortunate for them. Luckily, all of you, at least in my class, are on top of your work, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that would really suck if you hadn't done all your work for 2 or 3 weeks and then had to do it all at once. Luckily, like I said, you guys aren't doing that. At least I hope you're not doing that in your other classes, and stay on top of your college classes. I think I might do the picture thing and have you upload it, but stay tuned. So we started this unit with like the boom and the demobilization in this post-war period. I talked about the GI Bill, which gave soldiers the opportunity to get like really low interest loans for business, college, home, whatever. Talked about the baby boom, why our families are peaking at such high rates and why the birth rate's so high. Not because our soldiers are coming home from war and their wives are excited to see them. It's because of where we have such a higher standard of living now. Economically, we're in a really good place, and it's a lot easier People feel more comfortable like bringing a family into the world. They feel more comfortable bringing children in. And plus, more people are moving to the suburbs, so there's more room to have a larger family. So that's really why we have the baby boom. Truman's presidency. I talked about the Fair Deal, right, which was his, not to be confused with the New Deal or the Square Deal, but the Fair Deal, which was Truman's domestic policy, which was, trying to bounce off the New Deal and strengthen things like Social Security, and expand those types of social programs. But the difference is that the Fair Deal failed when the New Deal didn't, because the New Deal got a lot of, bipartisan support, got a lot of support from both political parties. The Fair Deal didn't really get support from either party. Truman couldn't even really get a lot of support from his own party. So that was something that he struggled with, and the whole thing was sort of a flop. He didn't really get a whole lot done. So obviously in 1952, he doesn't seek re-election. Eisenhower gets elected, and we talked about that with the Korean War, when Eisenhower got elected and then immediately pulled us out of the war. Looking at my notes here so I can make sure I go in the right order. Talked about the effects of the car, and how moving to the suburbs is becoming so much more popular. Levittown being that first big suburb. On Long Island, businesses associated with the automobile, drive-ins, fast food restaurants, shopping malls, the Eisenhower Interstate Act, the Sun Belt, all people moving to the Sun Belt because it's got, more job opportunities, better temperature. Chill with the cough. Ha, I don't have corona. Don't worry. Someone's in the hall. My dog doesn't like that, but I'm well. No Rona here. The Eisenhower Interstate System, I think I just mentioned that. Make sure I'm not missing anything. My dog said otherwise. Ha ha ha. All right. A new economy. We talked about shifting. Really, the main economic change through this post-war period is that we're shifting from manufacturing to service-based industries. That's definitely something that you should know. Manufacturing, we know during World War II and before, we were a country that made things, right? And we sold products all over the world. And that's still true. We still make things. We make things even now. It's just so many less things that we make now compared to before. And our primary job market is now going to be the service industry. And when you're thinking about service, I don't just mean like a restaurant. Service is everything from doctor, lawyer, teacher, banker. All of those are services. So any type of like corporate job, like if you're a broker on Wall Street, you work in the service industry, you provide a service, you sell stock. So all those things are technically service. We talked about labor unions and businesses going international. Any questions about economic post-war stuff? Before, yeah, definitely a job that requires more education. A lot of those are service jobs or jobs that require a degree. Any more questions before I move on to college and the California Master Plan and stuff? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, in terms of education, the two main education bills that you should know is the National Defense Education Act, which was science and math education. Whatever happened to the places that were making war goods? They went back to making whatever they were making before, but slowly but surely over time, a lot of those industries got outsourced. So they start making those products in other countries, and just different facilities take over, which does damage to some towns. Like a lot of towns lose their job. Like if you've heard of Flint, I'm sure you've heard of Flint because of the water situation. Flint used to be home to a big Ford manufacturing plant, and it was a really popular and nice suburban town, like really awesome. Flint was like a great place to live. And then maybe in like the 70s or 80s, a lot of those factories were closed and they started moving to other areas. And it crushed the job market in Flint. And now we know Flint has like one of the highest, aside from their water issues, Flint has like one of the highest crime rates and poverty rates in the country. It's really rough in Flint outside of Detroit. So Flint's a pretty good example of what happens to those war goods or manufactured goods. California Master Plan, 3 tiers of education, like a pyramid. The biggest tier at the bottom being community colleges, because the most amount of people can get into a community college, and it's the cheapest. So it gets the most government funding because it's available to the largest amount of people. The next tier in the pyramid being, state colleges and universities. That's like where a moderate amount of people can get in. And so it gets a moderate amount of government funding. And then the smallest amount of government funding goes to research universities like Duke or Wake Forest. They get the smallest amount of government funding. But that's one of the reasons why tuition to those schools is so high. And because the least amount of people can get into those programs. So the most money goes to where the most people have access. So that's what California did. And essentially that's what every other state has done since, when trying to figure out how to fund their higher education. Consumerism and conformity. We talked about television and credit cards and the way that all of that was depicted in the media. I hope you enjoyed your episode of Leave It to Beaver. 10 out of 10, recommend more episodes. I'm sure you probably thought it was like the cheesiest thing you've ever watched in your life, and it is the cheesiest thing you've ever watched in your life. But at the time, people were like, this is amazing. This is, peak cinematic everything and art. This is what television is supposed to be. And people watched Leave It to Beaver all of the time. So it's cheesy, but it's cute. Dr. Spock, Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care. Beaver got beat. Yeah, he did. He sure did. But he kind of had it coming. Sorry, Beaver. But you stuck your nose into other people's business. I know Layla loves Wally. Big shock, everyone. Layla has another historical crush to add to the list. I would love to know if throughout all of these notes, Corey has added more descendants to his list. Since I'm on YouTube Live, I won't mention what that list is in case the government is watching, but y'all know the list. Y'all know the list that Corey keeps. So I'd be interested to know if he added more people to that list, but I'm sure we'll get to all that later. Religious revival. He should not type his list. I don't think we need concrete evidence of who's on the list in case something does happen to any of those people, and then Corey could be in big trouble. Religious revival, I talked about how we're trying to be as different from the communists as possible. So we're like putting a lot of importance on Christianity, and so we add it to our money and our pledge. Rock and roll. There's so many drug histories that I can't show you because we're not in class, and there's no way for me to really put it online, obviously, because it's like, copyrighted and only streaming on Hulu. But if you have Hulu and you want to watch drunk history, there are a lot of drunk histories that I would have shown had we been in school this whole time. There is a good one about Alan Freed coining the phrase rock and roll that you can watch. That there's one on the Little Rock Nine. There's one on the Montgomery bus boycott. What else? Anything? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I would have showed you during this. But like I said, if you have Hulu and you want to watch some drunk histories, let me know. The drunk history on the crisis, that's a good one. And the one on Claudette Colvin, the one about the Montgomery bus boycott, that's a good one too. So if you got Hulu, keep watching your drunk histories. If you don't, I'm really sorry. I wish I had a way to show it to you. authors. We talked about the Beatniks. Make sure you know who the Beatniks are, and make sure you can name a Beatnik as an example, like Betty Friedan or David Reisman. Those were the two that I think I specifically mentioned in the video. For your notes, Betty Friedan writing about women and the stigma of being, or the pressure that society puts on women to be that like perfect mom and wife and not to focus on a career at all, and how negative that is, and how all of those conformist ideas are so bad for women. That would make her a beatnik, right? Because she's writing about how she's writing the negative side of what all that conformity is. She's writing against the mainstream. That's essentially what the Beat generation or those beatnik writers were. So make sure you can explain that. Then I got into the civil rights movement. I wish we could have done all that in class. That's like my favorite part of everything, is all the social changes and movements and stuff that we get into in Unit 5. And we would have even done a tie-dye project. We would have spent a whole day outside and tie-dye t-shirts for a grade. But now we're not allowed outside because you'll get the Rona or spread it. So stay inside. I wish we could do something like that, but unfortunately we can't. I know we're sad about the tie-dye t-shirts. If you tie-dye on your own, Walmart's not closed. They're an essential business. So if someone in your family is going to Walmart to get groceries, tell them to pick you up a little tie-dye pack and a white t-shirt. Do it on your own. Maybe I'll give you extra credit if you send me a video of you tie-dyeing your own t-shirt. But I wish we could do it all together. It's way more fun that way, especially because so many people have never done it before. It's kind of weird to do on your own for the first time. But if you decide to do it for extra credit and you haven't done it before, let me know and I can give you some pretty basic instructions, or you can just look them up on YouTube. Something a lot of people are doing right now is doing the like reverse, how much extra, half a project grade. Something a lot of people are doing right now is doing like what they call reverse tie-dye or bleach dyeing, which is they're taking something that they already own and tying it like you would when you're doing tie-dye, but instead of dumping dye on it or squirting it with dye, they squirt it with bleach. So it's like, like a black and bleached tie-dye type of thing, but you don't have to do it with black. You could do it like a bunch of, don't hit up the Walmart right now. Like I said, that's not an essential reason to go to the store. But if someone in your family is going to the store, then you can say, okay, now get me tie-dye. You don't have to do it anytime soon, anytime you want. A lot of, I don't look at TikTok that often, but a bunch of girls I've been seeing on a Facebook group that I'm part of have been doing the reverse tie-dye and YouTube and stuff. I've seen it, that they're doing it during quarantine. I've never done that, so I don't know how it works. I've only ever done regular tie-dye about 500 million times. But like I said, I don't know I can't give you advice on the reverse thing. You can just look that up on YouTube. But if you want to do regular tie-dye, that's pretty easy. Okay, so civil rights movement stuff. 2 types of segregation, de jure and de facto. De jure is by law, de facto is by culture or tradition. So the way that I remember that is like de jure for a J, I remember judicial. That's by law. That's how I keep it straight in my head. So maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. But so by law would be like Plessy v. Ferguson, or a law specifically saying that Black people and white people can't attend the same school or something, or a law or a rule saying that this segregation is in place. But de facto would be like a neighborhood or a church. It's not illegal for a white person to attend a predominantly Black church or the other way around. It's just unusual, and people have sort of like self-segregated themselves out of culture or tradition, which is exactly what de facto is. So the end of de jure school segregation comes with the Supreme Court case Brown v. Board of Education, which kicks off this whole new wave of the civil rights movement. And shortly after that is when we see, like 3 years later, is when we see the crisis in Little Rock, the Little Rock 9 integration. Make sure you can explain how the 2 levels of government fought during that, what Eisenhower did, what Faubus did, who won, what actions they took there, what level of government reigned supreme in the end. Make sure you can explain all of that. And the new Civil Rights Act. which establishes the Civil Rights Commission and stuff. All of that to come out from the Little Rock Nine. Montgomery bus boycott. Make sure that if I ask, I can't remember if I took this question because this quiz was really long. I took some questions out. I can't remember if I took it out or not. Oh, that's true. You can buy a tie-dye kit online and just have it sent to your house. I didn't even think about that. Good point. But make sure. What was I saying? Montgomery. I lost my train of thought before I started talking about you can like buy it online. Someone remind me. Hey Gina. But what was I saying before? I don't know. I guess it can't. I guess it couldn't have been that important. Oh, the quiz. That is super important. How I worded on the quiz. If I say what woman's arrest do they boycott? They're boycotting the arrest of Rosa Parks, right? Because that's how they planned it. But what woman's arrest sparks the planning of the Montgomery bus boycott? That would be Claudette Colvin, right? So two different things. Claudette Colvin is when they decide to plan it, and Rosa Parks is when they start the boycott, right? So make sure that you can differentiate between those two things. So understand that. And that, like I said, that might not be on this quiz. That might be on your test. I can't remember which is which, but make sure you are reading carefully when you're doing your quiz. Dr. King forming the SCLC, Greensboro 4, I should not have to go over. You guys should know all about the Greensboro 4. But you should know that their actions at Woolworth sparked the sit-in wave of protests, and it inspired the creation of SNCC, or the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which is going to be like one of the main 4 civil rights activist groups throughout the civil rights movement. The Freedom Rides, organized by CORE with members of the SCLC and SNCC all riding. And it wasn't to try to get interstate buses integrated, right? Because the Supreme Court already said they were integrated. It was actually to just see, would Kennedy support them and would he support the Supreme Court the same way that Eisenhower did? And the answer is yes, he does support them. He calls the Mississippi State Troopers and makes sure that they get that they escort the buses all the way through. He doesn't do anything in time to stop them from getting firebombed or attacked by angry mobs in Alabama, but he does manage to get them all the way to New Orleans safely, which is good. So he sort of sets himself up as being like, he's at least going to do what Eisenhower did. Then the question is, will he do more? And that's when we see him do more in the Birmingham protests, when they brought out the hoses and canine units, Bull Connor, and everybody like that during the Children's March. That was when Kennedy was like, I'm not going to just, uphold the federal law. I'm going to actually support civil rights. And that's when he sent troops in to protect the protesters and martial law, basically, and stopped all of the fighting that was going on in Birmingham. And then he went on TV and was like, I'm writing a new Civil Rights Act. We're going to end segregation in America. We're going to make sure we have fair hiring policies, yada, yada, yada. And so that's when they have the March on Washington to support that bill that he announced in that speech, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that Johnson will sign only because Kennedy's dead by the time it's passed, which created the EEOC, guaranteed fair hiring, and ended segregation. I'm almost 100% sure I asked about those, so make sure you know those for your quiz. The Freedom Summer. What was the Freedom Summer, right? This was SNCC's plan to get voter registration happening in the state of Mississippi, because they had they had the highest amount of African Americans not registered to vote. They have one of the highest populations of African Americans in the South, and they had virtually none actually registered to vote. So that's what the Mississippi, or what the Freedom Summer was for. There is a movie on your movie list about the 3 men that were killed, called Mississippi Burning. I can't remember if it's on any streaming service, but it's very good with Gene Hackman, Mississippi Burning. You can Google that. And like I said, it's on your movie list about those 3 men that were killed while they were down there to get people registered to vote. And then the formation of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Selma, another movie we would have watched in class had we actually been in class. But since I couldn't show you Selma and I couldn't figure out, I mean, I own it, but I couldn't, I couldn't find like a good enough bootleg version that I could download and try to put on Canvas. So instead, that's why I had you guys watch Eyes on the Prize, which in some ways is better because it's the actual footage of where they torched to death. You mean tortured? Those guys killed in the Mississippi burning movie. No, I mean they were beaten and shot, but they weren't necessarily like held for days or anything. I will say in the movie I don't think they show a lot of like you're eating in my class, very funny. I don't think they show a lot of the actual murder. It's more about like the investigation that the FBI does into it, since Mississippi wouldn't investigate. So it's more of the like who's responsible and trying to and navigating all of those different relationships in Mississippi. So I don't think it's super violent, but it has been a very long time since I've seen it. So don't quote me on that. So like I said, I think seeing the Eyes on the Prize footage of Selma, it can be better because it's real. That was like the real recording of what happened when all those people were attacked on Bloody Sunday. And you get to, hear interviews with people who were actually there, which is pretty interesting. But definitely, if you haven't seen the movie Selma that came out a few years back, I would recommend that. It's very good. I don't think it's on your movie list because normally we watch it in class. But if you wanted to watch it and do it as a movie review, that's totally fine since we won't be able to watch it in class. But 2 laws came out of the Selma March. The first was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which outlawed literacy tests. So no more of those crazy literacy tests where you have to like name every lieutenant governor ever for the state of North Carolina or something. And then the second one is the 24th Amendment, which banned poll taxes. So you can't be taxed or forced to pay any money in order to exercise your right to vote. So I'm pretty sure that's where the last one stopped, because the next things I see on my notes are things I know you're not going to get to until today when you do today's notes. So before I end this and send you off to take your quiz, does anybody have any final questions? Anything you want me to go back over? Didn't understand? Anything like that? Did I get my extra credit? What are you talking about, Trey? Stay in your house. I got stuff to do in May. Oh, preach. I have things to do. I have things to do now. CORE was the Congress of Racial Equality. And so they organized different, they tried to organize protests that involved a variety of different groups. So like the Freedom Rides is an example, how they didn't just have, SNCC volunteers, but they were trying to work with like all these different groups to like coordinate a united effort. So that's what the Congress part is. They're sort of like uniting all these other different groups, Congress of Racial Equality. But yeah, I have stuff to do too. So, oh yes, I did get the picture of you. So if you sent me a picture, if you uploaded a picture of you working, I got you, and you'll probably see yourself on the school Instagram very soon. So keep an eye out for that. But if you didn't upload a picture or send me a picture of you doing your work from home, you can still send me one. That's absolutely fine. But like I said, I'll be using those maybe in next year's yearbook, or I'll at least give you extra credit. All right. So yeah, you weren't looking a mess. You looked very official on your computer. Trace was really funny. Did SNCC and the SCLC not like each other, or did they work together well? They didn't really like each other. And really a lot of the frustration between the two of them came. A lot of the places where the SCLC went to do work, like Birmingham, Albany, even Selma, in all those places, SNCC was already there. And they were all, SNCC was very much like a grassroots type of organization. They did not bring activists with them. They brought a few people to mobilize the people that lived in that community, and they tried to get them to stage a protest. So that's what grassroots means. It's sort of working from the bottom up, from the roots. So from the people that live in that area. When the SCLC would come, Martin Luther King and Ralph Abernathy would come with their entire group of people, and they would stage these protests for the city and would encourage the city to join in. But then when it was over, they would leave, and the city would just sort of be left to like deal with the consequences and the reproduction. Yes, SNCC is pronounced SNCC by everyone who was involved in SNCC. So you should have seen that in your in the Eyes on the Prize video. When they talk about SNCC, they call it SNCC. But so I hope that when you were writing in your notes and you heard me say SNCC, that you didn't write it spelled any other way besides SNCC. I think Dr. King's death is covered in today's video. If not today, then tomorrow, but I think it's in today. So yeah, they didn't really like working together, which is one of the reasons why that March on Washington was so kind of revolutionary, because they didn't really get along. A picture of you working from home. Yeah, like Martin says, you can always send me one. Any other questions? All right. Right now, I don't have another quiz on this because normally the quiz that you're taking today actually would have been, of course I miss you guys, exams. Your guess is as good as mine. I really don't think we're going to have our state exam. I think that they're trying, well, the Board of Education submitted a request to the state for them to pass a bill to waive exams, because they can't just decide like no exams. They have to pass a new law to say that you don't have to take exams this year. So it's not like a quick thing that they can just do, which is the reason we haven't heard anything yet. If we don't have our state exam, then I'll just give you a teacher-made exam online. That'll be all multiple choice, like how the state exam is. Anything else? I know you guys are stressed, but don't be stressed, and keep this in mind. During all this online stuff, like none of us, and I've told this to, I think, to a couple of people, none of us are going to let you fail or make a D in a class that you normally were doing well in just because now it's online. So if you normally had a D and then you have a D now because you're not doing your work, that's on you. But if you are normally a good student or even an average student, and now all of a sudden we see a big change and it's because of this, like we know that you need help. So, and please contact us if you're having trouble. Let me know if you can't see something on Canvas, or if it's not loading right, if you're having trouble getting something uploaded. Make sure you tell me, because I'm not going to take off points if you, like someone sent me a video of them trying to upload one of their assignments. It just wouldn't let them upload it for some reason. I'm not going to count that late. So, because I know all this online stuff is a difficult thing. Do I recommend going back to school May 15th when we only have 1 week left? Honestly, by that point, we normally would have been out of school anyway, because graduation is like May 24th or May 22nd or something. So we wouldn't even really have a week left. Those days would typically be teacher work days. So, I mean, unless they want us to come back for like one more day to like have, I don't know, a party and see each other or something. That's pretty much it. But like I said, don't let any of this online stuff freak you out. If you are really working and you're getting up every day and you're doing your work online, that's it. That's all you need to worry about. If you have questions about something, you can always call or text anyone and we'll be happy to answer. Keep the lines of communication open. That's really the easiest way to make sure that nobody gets really behind or confused on anything. I recommend, keeping your normal schedule. Like if you normally have AFM first block, or Math 3 first block, wake up at 8 o'clock and do your math work in the morning, because we aren't expecting you to do work in the middle of the night, so you shouldn't be expecting us to do work in the middle of the night. If you have questions because you're working on your math homework at 3 a.m., no one's going to answer you. So make sure that you are doing your work during the normal time, and that will help to keep you sane. Honestly, this time where we're locked in 24/7, it can easily make you go nuts. Keeping a routine is the best way to make sure that happens. Go to bed at a reasonable time, wake up at a reasonable time, and then make sure that you stick to some type of routine. Try to stick to a similar schedule day to day, and that will definitely make it easier on you. That's what I've been doing, and I definitely feel better since I've been doing that than what I did before. All right. Good luck on your quiz. Like I said, you only get one attempt. I believe it's 11 questions in 13 minutes. If you're looking at I'll have my phone on me. If you are looking at a question that you don't understand, feel free to send me a message. I keep encouraging you. Do not a video April 1st. Why would I do a video on April 1st? No. Anyway, keep in mind, if you send me a message on Remind, I might not get it. Sometimes it takes me a long time to get those messages. My phone number is on your syllabus, and it's in the emails that I've been sending you. So make sure that if you really have an important emergency question for me, just text me. Don't send me a message on Remind. Some of you save the Remind number as my phone number. That's not my phone number. Look at your syllabus. That's my phone number. All right. Good luck on your quiz, and I will let you know whenever the next quiz is, when I decide when it's going to be, and I'll do another stream again.